Well, hello everyone. My name is Nina Brennan, and thank you for the introduction. So, I'm a brand strategist, and what I basically do, I help people build their personal brands, and it starts within. How I got here is I started as a life and mindset coach. I was working on Wall Street, then I moved to Africa, and I was just like, how can people live this way? Right? Like, very similar to you, like, you see the world a little bit and you have that taste. And I just knew that there was something more. So when I dove into life and mindset coaching, it was really to like heal myself as I was helping other people heal. And then I was like, you know what? I built a brand through that, and I wanted to help other people build their brands as well. And first things first, you have to be the person in order to have a brand, to have a business. So that's my journey, and that's how I became a brand strategist. I love what I do, and now I help people do what they love.
So it's interesting, and I actually didn't really know this about Africa. So what was before you decided to go to Africa? What was going on in your life? And I know you and I have connected because obviously I love to travel. I've been traveling consistently for like 3 years now. What is that draw for you that said, you know what, I want to leave what I'm doing. I want to go to Africa. What was that? What made you want to do that?
Have you ever been at that point where just like everything was on autopilot and routine? Like you're not happy. And just like you can be a high achiever, achieving so much, which is like where I was. And I just like looked at my life and I'm like, I have not lived. And for the first time in my life, when I just like this is like where the whole like identity stripping, like when you don't have to be who you always are, you can kind of create that image of like who you actually want to be. And like that was like the first pivotal moment in my life of like, you can actually be or create whoever you want to be and just start becoming. And like that was that first pivotal moment of like, I'm unhappy and I want to find happiness because this is what life should be like. Is like that every day that you're feeling when you're traveling. Just like that's how I want my life to be. And I'm going to do whatever I can to create it.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many parallels, and I've talked pretty openly about my struggles when I first moved to Thailand, and it was very similar, just being unhappy, just not being in a situation that I wanted to be in, and feeling just caught, right, and not knowing like, is a new job gonna fix this? No. Is a new city gonna fix this? No. But is something radical going to change this? And what I found, and I think what you found as well, is that taking that radical action step is the thing that you need because, well, one, it's difficult, right? Like for me, moving to Thailand, I don't speak any Thai, didn't know anyone or anything like that. That's hard. You learn a lot about yourself. You going to Africa, I'm sure that's not an easy thing to do, to make that decision to actually go there. So when you went there and when you spent that time in Africa, when you returned, what in your mindset or in your direction had changed that kind of set you on the path that you're on now?
Yeah. So I'm sure you know, like when you come back, unless you decide right away that you're going to change your life, like everything around you that you fall back into is the same. So I was gone for 6 months. And when I came back, I was different. But when I came back, everything was the same. So either I chose to
Yeah.
like go through the motions again, which I had to because I was still in school at the time. I was back into my internship, back in school. I was a soccer player throughout college, straight back into the grind. And I was like, I'm different, but everything is just stagnant. Nothing changed here. So when I graduated school, I had an offer from the internship that I was working with, and I was like, I can't. And like I went on a 7-week road trip across the country to kind of like uncondition myself from having to do something right away. So I put like brakes on my life and I was like, I'm going away. I want to discover like who I am and what I could actually do. And that was like that pivotal moment. When I came back, I hit the ground running of like, that's it. I got to start healing. And I realized like I had a lot of, excuse my language, but shit that I had to deal with before I could even become anything or anyone. So
Yeah, this is an open platform, so I have quite a sailor mouth myself. So don't feel the need
broke the seal.
to watch your words. But yeah, I totally know what you mean. So when you were in college, were you studying things like this, like branding and marketing and stuff like that?
So I was economics with the finance base, but since I was always a creative mind, I took all those branding and marketing classes on the side because those were my extracurricular. Instead of taking like art, I took branding and marketing.
Right. And yeah, that's interesting because I also come from a finance background, and for me, like, I view things very analytically.
Mhm.
So for me, the most difficult thing is the creative element, right? That's what I struggle with the most. That's what I face the most resistance is with the creative stuff. So you having like an economics finance background, I'm sure from a business standpoint, that's very beneficial. So what is it like to be able to kind of implement some of those things into your business as far as like understanding kind of the finance and economics of a business, but also being a creative? Do you see that as like a hindrance? Do you lean towards like analytical things sometimes? Do you lean towards creativity? Like, how do you, when you're thinking of business ideas, like how does your brain operate, if that question makes any sense?
No, it absolutely does. So I was always forced to think analytically, even though I've always been a creative. But society tells us that we have to think analytically in order to be successful, to get the money to everything. Like that side is like that hard drive. And like this is where you have to balance like that masculine and feminine, the left and right brain. Like you have to find that balance. And that's the way that I found success was like being able to be that authentic self, letting go of the, for one, stop chasing money. That's the first thing. Number one, like that should not be the base of everything that you do. But have an understanding of money, have an understanding that it's very, taxes is number one. Like make sure that you're doing what you have to do. And as long as it's taken care of, you can release the worry for it. And like if you don't know what to do, there are ways that you can kind of like, I'm not answering your question correctly. So let's reframe, but find balance. So you have to be that creative, but a lot of females get lost in that creative space. They don't take care of that side of like analytical. And a lot of men, they focus on the analytical, but they don't focus on that creativity. The way to find success is to bring them together and then go forward. That's just the answer that I can come up with.
Yeah, no, and there is no right or wrong answer, right? It's all
Yeah.
kind of the perspective, and I think it's key. And what you said about stop chasing money. And by the way, if people have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I am kind of watching what's going on in the Facebook group. So if you have any questions or want to know anything about me or Nina or her story experience, definitely drop a comment in the Facebook group. Um, you said stop chasing money. And this is something I've talked about. I've had Anita, her name's Anita Mae Aguilar. I'm sorry if I'm botching her name. She went live in my Facebook group a couple months ago, and her whole thing is money manifestation and the idea of don't chase money, attract money. So why, when you say stop chasing money, could you expand on that? What do you mean? And why, from a marketing standpoint as well, why is chasing money a bad thing? And why shouldn't one chase money?
Well, my brain just like shot in like six different directions with it. So the first thing I can say is, for one, people can read you as a person, especially like coming from a personal brand idea. Like if you're only going after money, you come off as like that skeezy salesman and like you don't want to be that person. For two, what is your why? If your why is money, you're always going to feel so distance from the goal. Like having a long-term brand, which is something that you and I connect with completely, like long-term sustainability, long-term branding, stuff like that, provides so much value up front and everything is a compound effect. So if you're looking for just the short term, you're not like, you can make money in the short term with services. But if you want to build long term, you have to think in compound effect, provide massive value first, build that community first, and then it'll pay off. So that attachment to money and needing right now, it's going to hinder you in the long run, and it's only going to be short term satisfaction instead of long term gratification.